So this is an auspicious invocation. You can also recite the mantras along with me before starting the Bhagavad Gita discussion. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadate Shvapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscham Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscham Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we shall continue our discussion on chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. We have already discussed in the chapter 1. We have seen the Dhritarashtra is partial to its own sons, Kauravas. So that is one of the main reasons of the Kurukshetra war. And then we have also seen Duryodhana's diplomacy, how he is trying to instigate Dronacharya and Bhishmadev and other soldiers of the Kaurava army. We have seen different signs of victory for the Pandavas, like blowing up conch shell, and other signs of victory like Kapidhvaja. Hanumanji is there on the flag of Arjuna. Krishna is with Arjuna, and also Arjuna possesses a chariot, invincible chariot given by Agni. So Arjuna desires to see both the armies. Arjuna is telling Krishna, Arjuna Uvacha, Senayor Ubhayar Madhya Ratham Sthapayam Achyuta. O Krishna, O Achyuta, please place my chariot in between the two armies. But when Krishna places the chariot in front of Dronacharya and Bhishmadev, Arjuna is overwhelmed with compassion and he is not ready to fight. So that is the first reason Arjuna presents for not fighting. Then in the chapter 1, Arjuna presents 3 more reasons not to fight. The second reason is, if all my family members die, with whom I will share my enjoyment? What is the point of winning the battle when the family members are not there? So no enjoyment argument. Arjuna is concerned about his material pleasure, and therefore he is not ready to fight. Third reason presented by Arjuna is, if I kill these soldiers on the battlefield, I will incur sinful reactions. And the fourth reason is, if I kill these soldiers, who will protect their wives and children? And this is how unscrupulous person will exploit the women of our dynasty. And the next generation will not be valiant, and they will be irreligious. So this is how our dynasty will be destroyed. So this is how Arjuna presented 4 arguments not to fight. And he decided that I will not fight. In the beginning of chapter 2 also, we see continuation of this indecision of Arjuna. And then Supreme Lord chastises Arjuna in the beginning that Asochvan anvasochastvam pragya vadamscha bhasasem gatasuna gatasumscha nanu sochanti pandita. So Krishna says in the second verse of second chapter that the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. So Krishna is asking Arjuna, why are you speaking like an ignorant person? So then Arjuna further expresses his indecision. And finally, Arjuna surrenders unto Krishna. He is completely confused. This is a very important verse. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavam prichhami tvam dharma sammoda chetam yashreyashan nishchitam bruhitan me shishya hamsadhimam tvam prapannam. So Arjuna says, I am now confused about my duty and I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So after Arjuna completely surrenders, then Krishna is starting to speak. And Krishna will first refute the compassion argument by presenting Atma Tattva, or the science of soul. So Krishna will start from instructing on this subject matter of Atma Tattva from verse number 11. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So we have already covered till 14 verses of this chapter 2. And we have also taken notes. So notes are very, very important. Otherwise, we tend to forget. And if you take notes, then doing the assignments will be very easy. You don't have to search anything. The assignments will be from the notes only. So therefore, I highly encourage that you take notes of every verse. Just one sentence per verse we should write in our own language. Okay, so from chapter 2, Krishna starts speaking. In the first chapter, only Arjuna was presenting different arguments, right? So in 11th verse, Lord started instructing Arjuna. So the 11th verse was that you are speaking like a learned person, but you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Like you are mourning or lamenting for the body. But the body is not permanent. Any day, anyway, the body is going to die someday. Even if you do not fight, your Guru Dronacharya and Bhishma Dev, anyway, they will leave their body one day. You cannot protect the body just by not fighting. And also, you cannot destroy the soul by fighting. So this is the essence of this section. So you can take a note of this essence that from verse number 11 to 30, Krishna is discussing this Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, which is the analysis of body and soul. And the punchline for this particular section is body is non-permanent and soul is permanent. That means even if you do not fight, you cannot protect the body. The body will be destroyed one day, even if you do not fight. And even if you fight, the soul cannot be destroyed. So this is the main argument of these verses from verse number 11 to 13, which is the analysis of body and soul. Body is non-permanent and soul is permanent. Body cannot be protected and soul can never be destroyed. Okay. So then in the verse number 12, Krishna says that we are all individual souls and we had our existence always. Never there was a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So all of us existed in some form or other in all times. In past also we were there, now also we are existing, in future also we will exist in some form. We may not be in the human body, we may be in some another body according to our karma and our desire, but in some form we will exist. Even if we perfect ourselves by practicing devotional service, then we will be liberated. But in the liberated condition also, we will go back to the Supreme Lord's abode. And there also we will exist as spiritual entities in our original spiritual form. So there also we maintain our existence. So in this verse, the Mayavad philosophy is refuted. The Mayavad philosophy says that just after you are liberated, your existence is merged with God's existence. You become one with God. But no, Krishna is telling we all maintain our individuality in all conditions. In the past, we existed as some individual. Presently, we are existing as some individual. In the future also, we will exist as some individual. And even after liberation, we will maintain our individuality. Supreme Lord will be there in his abode, and we will be serving the Supreme Lord in some spiritual form. So even after liberation, we maintain our existence, or we maintain our individuality. And then this is the famous verse, 13th verse. We have seen Dehinosmin Jatha Dehe Kaumaram Jovanam Jara Tatha Dehantaro Praptir Dhiras Tatra Muhyati. Within the same lifetime, we change bodies. Like after every 7 years, almost all our bodily cells are replaced. So that's the finding of modern science. And Krishna is also saying the same thing, that the body in Kaumaram, in the youth, is different from the body in Yovanam. Kaumaram means in the childhood state, and Yovanam means youth, and Jara means old age. So all these bodies are different. So within a single lifetime also we are changing body, and death means another change of body. It's not a big deal. Therefore, Dhiras Tatra Namuhyati. Dhira means a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So therefore, you should not be bewildered so much by the conception of body. And in the 14th verse, Krishna says, Matra sparsastu panteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agamu paino nityastam titikshasva bharata. So this is an instruction of Krishna. Titikshasva, please tolerate. So we can write in the verse 14, Krishna is instructing, you have to tolerate and execute your duty irrespective of the circumstances. Okay. So in the 14th verse, Krishna is telling that we have to tolerate and execute our duty irrespective of the circumstances. Whether our circumstances are favorable or unfavorable, we must execute our duty. Okay. So Prabhupada gives an analogy in the purport, just like a mother who cooks in the kitchen. So mother is cooking even while there is summer season, the kitchen is tremendously hot, but still mother is not stepping back from her duty of cooking. So similarly, spiritual sadhaka takes bath early morning, even if there is winter. So even if the situations are unfavorable, we have to tolerate and execute our duty. As a spiritual seeker, the lesson which we can take, whatever is the situation, whatever is the condition, we must execute our spiritual duties like chanting, hearing about the Supreme Lord, reading about the Supreme Lord. If we do not do this, whatever material activities we do, we will never be satisfied. Because here in this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is revealing the best way to lead our life. That is the whole point of Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, Krishna is instructing the humanity through Arjuna. Krishna is revealing the secret that although this material world is a place of misery, but there is a particular way of living which you can adopt that will make you happy. And that way of living, that lifestyle is called yoga. Therefore, one of the verses of Bhagavad Gita says, Yoga karmashu kosalam. Yoga is not something fancy. Yoga means how to deal your life, how to lead your life, art of working. That is called yoga. In this material world, there is a particular art of working by which you can be happy. Okay, so now in the text 15, Krishna is continuing, and you can also recite the verses along with me. By that you will get the benefit of reciting Bhagavad Gita verses. Yam hi na vyathayante purusham purusharshabham shamadukha sukham dhiram shomritatvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So this is the continuation of verse 14. In the verse 14, Krishna says that you need to tolerate. In the verse 15, Krishna says that one who is not disturbed by happiness and distress is eligible for liberation. So therefore, if you write one line summaries, then the whole Bhagavad Gita becomes very clear. So in the text number 15, you can write one line that person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress is eligible for liberation. A person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress is eligible for liberation. So here liberation does not mean that, oh, I will attain moksha. Sometimes people think like that, okay, moksha and all, after death we will have some good destination. No, liberation does not mean only after death. So therefore people tend to be reluctant that, okay, now I am living, I have to do my duty. I will later think about moksha, liberation. That's not my business now. But this is a wrong conception. Even within our life, we can be liberated. And that state is called Jiban Mukta or Sthita Pragya. And Krishna is trying to teach us that. Even while you are living in this world, you can be liberated. You can be liberated from the bondage of attachment. And attachment is the cause of all misery. While living in this planet, we are facing so many problems in our life. We are attacked by different miseries and distress. So this liberation refers to liberation from all distress while you are living, not something after death, moksha. So the Bhagavad Gita concept of liberation is throughout the life and after life also, not only after life. So liberation means you will not be attached to anything. You will be a free person. Therefore, your efficiency will increase multiple times. Whenever we are trying to do some work, it is the attachment which impedes us. If we are attached to something, our mind goes again and again to that particular thing, and therefore we lose our focus. So liberation means liberation from all attachment, and then you will be a free person, a liberated person. And at that stage, you will reach your maximum efficiency. So even in terms of material success, every one of us has to be liberated. And another thing liberation helps us that we can do our best, but the results are not in our hand. So sometime it may happen that due to our karma, even after doing a lot of hard work, we are facing failures. But a person who is very attached to success, he will not be able to take failure, and then he will commit suicide and all other things. He will be morose, demotivated, depressed, taking drugs, alcohol, many things. But a person who is liberated is not shattered by failures. So that is also another benefit of being liberated while in this human form. Okay, so we proceed to text number 16. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate shatam, ubhayarapi drishtantyas, tvantayastvatpadarshivim. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body. So the material body is called non-existence. Means it has a temporary existence. It is not permanent. Therefore, it is called asata. There is no endurance. Means the body does not endure forever. Body will not last forever. And of the eternal, the soul is called eternal. The material body is called non-existence or temporary, and the soul is called eternal. And soul will last forever. Soul will never change. For the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So in essence, this is also the punchline, very, very important section. So verse number 16, we can write, the body is temporary and the soul is eternal. Verse number 16, the body is temporary, or the material body is temporary, and the soul is permanent. Okay, and this is the conclusion of the sages. So also here we can see the humility of Krishna and how Krishna is playing like a human. This is called Manushya Leela of Krishna. Although Krishna is the source of all knowledge, in chapter 15, Krishna will reveal that Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mattasmritir jnanam apohanam cham vedascha sarverahame vedyo vedanta kridveda videva chaham. I am the compiler of the Vedas. All Vedic knowledge is originating from me. But still, before presenting some argument, Krishna is telling that this they have concluded by studying the nature of the world. Who? The seers of the truth. So Krishna is quoting acharyas or sadhus before quoting any statement. Krishna is validating the statement that this is not only my opinion, but the seers of the truth also have concluded this. So Krishna does not need to do it. Krishna does not need to quote any acharyas to validate his statement. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the chapter 3, we are in the chapter 2 now. In the chapter 3, Krishna will say to Arjuna in some different context, we'll see that. So Krishna says, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchanaha anavyaptam avyaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. So Krishna says, oh Arjuna, there is no work for me. There is no duty for me. I don't have to follow any rules and regulations, but still I do. Why? Just to educate others. Because if I do not follow the rules and regulations, people will follow me and they will also not follow the rules and regulations. So Krishna, by his own example, is demonstrating what we should do. We should always quote our acharyas. Therefore, Krishna is also doing. Also, Krishna, although Krishna do not need to quote them. Whenever we are making some statement, our mind is contaminated. So whatever we think is not something very important. But the seers of the truth who has realized, who are in the stage of self-realization and they have realized the Supreme Lord, their statements are important. They can see so many things which are invisible to common eyes. So therefore, quoting our acharyas is an important thing. Just like in our modern scientific procedure, we quote the research papers of different scientists. So similarly, in spiritual ambience also, we quote our acharyas because they are the realized souls who can verify each and every statement of the scriptures. We already discussed this in our Discover Yourself session, that the statements of the scriptures are coming from the Supreme Lord, and some of them we can verify according to our capacity, and some we cannot verify. But the self-realized souls, they can verify all the statements of the scriptures, and we can also reach to that stage by practice of yoga. So that's the point. Let's continue. Text number 17. Avinasi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasham yavyayasya nakaschid kartumarhati. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. So again, the same thing is coming. That which pervades the entire body. The soul is the origin of consciousness. Till the point soul is there inside the body, every part of the body is conscious. But just after 1 second of the soul leaving the body is not anymore conscious. Okay. Some functionalities of the body will reduce with time, but the consciousness portion is gone. Like the brain may still work up to maybe a few hours after death, and some metabolism may still continue to happen, but the source of all the consciousness which was driving all the metabolism in the body, that source is now absent. So therefore, all the reactions will decay in due course of time and the body will die. So therefore, the soul is the source of consciousness which pervades the entire body, and that soul is indestructible and imperishable. So we can write text number 17, the soul is imperishable. Text number 17, the soul is imperishable. Text 18, Antavanta ime deha nitya shukta sharirinam anashina pramayasya tasmad yujjasva bharatam. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. So again, now Krishna is talking about the material body. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Text number 17, Krishna said that the soul is imperishable. Soul will never die. It will never be destroyed. But the body, the material body of this soul, which is indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal, these three are the adjectives for the soul. But the material body of such a soul will come to an end. Means the body is perishable. So text number 18, we will write, the body is perishable. The body will come to an end someday. Even if you try hard, you cannot protect the body. So text number 18, the body is perishable. So why Krishna is telling this to Arjuna? Because Arjuna is thinking, if I do not fight, then they will be protected. So Krishna said, even if you do not fight, they will die. Their material body will perish one day. You cannot protect that. So in illusion, sometimes we think illogical. Like what Krishna is telling is perfectly logical. But Arjuna's point was, he was momentarily thinking that if I do not fight, maybe I can protect them. This is completely illogical. So when we are in illusion, sometimes we take illogical decisions. So that is, therefore, being liberated is important. Because if we are liberated from the illusions also. We will never be illusioned by the material energy or illusory energy of this material world. And therefore, we will always be able to take the right decision. Text number 19. Yayenam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhauto na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyatem. Neither he who thinks the living entity, the slayer, nor he who thinks it is slain is in knowledge. For the self slays not, nor is slain. For the self slays not, nor is slain. That means self slays not. Means Atma never kills anyone. And nor is slain, Atma is never killed. So therefore, this killing or death, this particular attribute cannot be added to the word Atma. Okay. So Atma has nothing to do with kill or die. Okay. Atma is always existing, and it will never change. So therefore, Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, Atma will never die, and Atma is not killing anyone. Because Atma cannot kill anyone. What does this mean? Suppose Atma A is killing Atma B. Now killing of Atma B is not possible. Therefore, Atma A cannot be a killer. So that's the logical statement if you want to understand mathematically. So therefore, because of the fact that Atma cannot be killed, Atma is never killed and Atma cannot be a killer. So that is the essence of this verse, text number 19. That the soul does not kill and is never killed, in simple language. The soul never kills, and the soul neither kills and nor is killed. Something like that. Okay. So the word death cannot be attributed with Atma. Text number 20. This is a very important verse. Few of these important verses you can also memorize, because in chapter 2 there are many verses which describes the Atma Tattva, or the science of soul, very wonderfully. And during preaching, or if you want to preach this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, remembering these verses are very important. So this is one of such verses. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So different qualities of Atma has been expressed here. So just see, Krishna is repeating the same thing in different verses. In the Kurukshetra war, Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita in 48 minutes to Arjuna. Within such a short period of time, Krishna is repeating the same thing again and again. So by this, you can understand what is the importance of this subject matter. Why Krishna is repeating this thing again and again. Now we are going through this particular section of chapter 2, and within this chapter, there are several repetitions of the same concept. When we will complete Bhagavad Gita, we can see Krishna is repeating one particular concept in every chapter. In every verse like aims towards a particular concept in Bhagavad Gita. So after reading the whole Bhagavad Gita, we will see that throughout the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is trying to tell us one simple thing. And that simple thing is, do not do anything for yourself. Do everything as an offering to the Supreme Lord. That's the whole essence of Gita. And the weightage of this statement we will realize through different chapters from different angles. Whenever we do something for ourselves, we create some dangerous situation. We create karma, and now we have to suffer this karma. But whenever we do something for the Supreme Lord, we are safe. Always auspicious things will happen just by doing work for Krishna. But whenever we do something for us, suppose I want to eat something, I cooked, I brought it from market and I ate. We made a dangerous decision. Now this will generate karma and we have to suffer. Even if we are taking vegetarian diet, still it will generate some karma. But the same thing, if we offer to the Supreme Lord and then take as prasad, but to speak of generating karma, our previous sinful activities will be destroyed by this offering and taking prasadam. So this is the essence. For every activity, if we do it for ourselves, we have to suffer. If we do it for Krishna, then we will enjoy. So just like if we decorate ourselves, our reflection in the mirror gets automatically decorated. Similarly, if we please Krishna, because we are reflection of Krishna, we are part and parcel of Krishna, we get automatically happy. Just like if we feed to the stomach, every part of the body gets nourishment. But if we individually try to feed every part, they will not be nourished. So similarly, if we try to please Krishna, we will be automatically pleased. But if we try to individually please ourselves, we will not be pleased. This is the science, and people do not understand this simple thing. Therefore, Krishna has spoken the Bhagavad Gita, and throughout Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is repeating this same concept. Okay, so in verse number 20, we can write different attributes of the soul. The soul is unborn, eternal, ever existing, primeval. So 4 qualities: unborn, eternal, ever existing, primeval. And we can also write that soul is not slain when the body is slain. When the body dies, soul does not die. When the body is killed, soul is not killed. So the soul is unborn, eternal, ever existing, primeval, and not slain when the body is slain. Text number 21. Veda vinasinam nityam ye yanam ajamavyayam katham sa purusha partha kam ghatayanti hantikam. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So Krishna is basically telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you are fearful to kill. You are not actually killing, because killing Atma is not possible. So whom you are killing? You are not killing anyone. So therefore, O Partha, if a person knows that soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable, then how can such a person kill? Because such a person knows that the person in front of me or the Atma in front of me never can be killed. So how can I kill? Okay. So text number 21, Krishna says, one who knows the soul is indestructible can't be cause of killing anyone. A person who knows the soul is indestructible cannot be the cause of anyone's, cannot be the cause of killing of anyone. That means the person knows that I am not killing the person in front of me, because Atma cannot be killed. So therefore, essentially, Arjuna is not killing anyone. Arjuna has to just execute his Kshatriya dharma. The Kshatriya dharma of a Kshatriya is subduing the irreligion. So therefore, these Kauravas are irreligious, and you have to execute your duty by destroying their body, but you are not killing anyone. So that's the statement. Text number 22. This is also a very important verse for memorization. Vasamsi jirnani jatha vihaya navani grihnati naropārani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Vasamsi jirnani jatha vihaya. Vasamsi means clothes. Jirnani means old or torn out. Vasamsi jirnani jatha vihaya. Just as we give up old and worn out garments, and navani grihinati naropārani, and we accept new garments. Tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Similarly, the soul rejects the old and worn out body, which is inhabitable for the soul, and the soul accepts another body. So the death is nothing but changing of a garment for the soul. Just like we change garments from the level of the body, our garments are garments, but from the level of the soul, the body is a garment. So there are different hierarchies. So just like we change old clothes, the soul also changes old bodies and accept new body. So text number 22 says, death is nothing but changing of garment for the soul. Death is nothing but change of garment for the soul. Okay. Next verse 23. This also explains different qualities of Atma. This is also a very famous verse. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, nachainam kledayantyapo naso shayati marutaham. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Okay? You cannot cut the soul, you cannot burn the soul, you cannot moisten the soul, you cannot wither the soul. Why? Because the soul is existing in a different dimension altogether. This is in a subtler dimension. Our gross body is made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. These are gross elements. Then we have the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are subtle elements we cannot see with our senses. And subtler than the subtle elements of the subtle body is soul, which is the components of the soul are Sat, Chit, and Ananda. The Sat, Chit, and Ananda are not material objects. So therefore, we cannot perceive this with our senses. So because the soul is existing in a different dimension altogether, anything material, you cannot touch the soul with anything material. Okay. So here we can write text number 23. The soul cannot be touched by any material things. Okay, everything comes into like the weapon, fire, water, wind, all these are material elements. So you cannot touch the soul with any of the material elements. Soul can never be touched by any material elements. Okay, text number 24. Ache doyam adahyoyam akle doshosya evacham nitya sarvagata sthanur acho loyam sanatanam. The individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned or dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Okay. So same things as text number 23, but some more extra qualities are mentioned. We can note down those qualities. Burnt or died, we have already discussed in 23. So we can add this one, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So present everywhere, this is important. Sarvagata. So soul is present everywhere means the soul does not need any specific body to reside. Soul can exist without body also. But soul has different desires. Those desires will be satisfied through the body. Okay. So every soul in this material world is accompanied by the subtle body. And whenever they find a suitable gross body, the desires from the subtle body gets manifested. So in the subtle body, we have three components: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Mind is the storehouse of all material desires. Whenever the soul finds a suitable gross body, he wants to satisfy those desires. So present everywhere means everywhere there is a soul. Okay, we cannot see, but soul is present everywhere because the souls are innumerable. So it can exist everywhere, and everywhere there is soul. So one evidence for this particular fact, that when we do cloning or artificially we try to clone a living entity, this thing happen actually. So cloning and test tube baby, these two are different things. Test tube baby means the semen was already carrying the soul, and when the semen or the sperm meets with the ovum, the zygote is formed and soul is already there. Through the medium of the semen, the soul comes into the body. But when cloning happens, so this particular principle of soul being sarvagata takes an important role. So by cloning, we actually artificially build a suitable cell in which soul can reside. And because soul is existing everywhere, whenever the soul finds that, okay, here is a suitable cell on which I can reside, the soul comes into that particular cell. And therefore, the cloning is highly, the accuracy of cloning is very, very low. So if you repeat the same experiment maybe 1,000 times, once you may succeed. Because not every time the soul will enter into the particular cell which we have artificially created. And this also happens due to a karma of the soul. If the karma of the soul says, okay, you will not take a normal birth, you have to take a birth as a clone. So the karma has to satisfy, and also the desire of the soul has to satisfy, and then only this particular thing will succeed. So during cloning, this particular statement of Bhagavad Gita we can verify, because without soul, living entity cannot survive. So if we are creating a clone living entity that is surviving, that means the soul has to enter. Now, from where the soul is coming? The soul is not coming through semen or any other medium. So it means the soul has to exist everywhere, and that is also written in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, text number 25. Okay, so in 24, we can write these extra qualities. The soul is present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, everlasting, and eternally the same. Text number 25 says, Avyaktoyam achintoyam avikaroyam uchyate tasmadevam vidit vainam nanusochitum arhashi. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So a few more qualities of the soul are explained. Text number 25, you can write, the soul is invisible. It resides in other dimension. Inconceivable. You cannot think of the soul because human mind is only designed, human brain or human mind is only designed to think of something gross, which is within the three dimensions. Or the soul is inconceivable. Okay. Soul is inconceivable in another way. So the size of the soul in the spiritual dimension is same inside an ant and inside an elephant. The same soul, the same spiritual spark is present. That is also driving the ant's body, and that is also driving the elephant's body. So this is how soul is inconceivable. In a room, if the room is quite big, we need a stronger source of light. If the room is very small, we need a very small source of light. But the soul is inconceivable. With the same size, it can also make the ant body conscious, and with the same size, it can also make the elephant body conscious. And immutable means you cannot make any changes to the soul. So these three qualities are explained. Text number 25, invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Text number 26. So we will complete this section today up to verse number 30. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam va manyashe mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitum arhashi. If, however, you think that soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. So now there is a twist. From this verse number 26, Krishna is taking a different route to convince Arjuna. So first of all, Krishna has explained Arjuna that if you have this knowledge that soul is immutable and it is existing forever, soul is eternal, then there is no reason for lamenting. But even if I consider the other side of the argument, that you do not believe in the eternity of the soul, if you believe that the soul will always be born and die forever, still you do not have any reason to lament. So this is an atheistic philosophy where they do not accept the eternity of the soul. But Krishna is telling, even with that philosophy, you should not lament. Because the atheistic philosophy is the body is made up of chemicals. There is no soul. And they think the body is the self means the body. In the atheistic philosophy, the self is equal to the body. In the theistic philosophy, the self is equal to the soul. And the body is immaterial. So according to the atheistic philosophy, where they consider body as the self, there also the body is made up of chemicals. So killing of the body means killing of some chemicals. So why are you lamenting, Arjuna, for some chemicals? Even if you accept the atheistic philosophy, you should not lament for some chemicals. Okay. So this is the statement in text number 26. So 26 we can write, according to the atheistic philosophy, also, there is no reason for lamentation. And in the bracket, we can write loss of some chemicals. If you read the purport, Prabhupada will explain the same thing. So the atheistic philosophy says there is no soul, but still with that philosophy, if we feel that there is no soul and we think the body is made up of only chemicals, then why to lament for loss of some chemicals? So text number 26 says, according to the atheistic philosophy, also, we should not lament due to the loss of some chemicals. Okay, 27. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityor dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyarthe natam shochitum arhashi. One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Here Krishna is telling one who has taken the birth is sure to die. Just now Krishna has spoken the soul never takes birth and never dies. Why Krishna is telling this? Because Krishna is not talking about the soul. Krishna is telling one who has taken his birth. The soul has not taken his birth. Therefore, soul will not die. Then who has taken birth? We can say the body has taken birth. Taking birth means coming into existence. So the body has taken birth and body is here to die. And after death, one is here to take birth again. Therefore, the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Okay. So text number 27 says, that the body will go through the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, you should not lament. The body will go through the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, you should not lament. So even if you do not fight, the body will go through the cycle of birth and death. Okay, maybe add that phrase, even if you do not fight, the body will go through the cycle of birth and death. Therefore, do not lament. So Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna, your activity will not change anything. Even whether you fight or not fight, the soul will be permanent. Whether you fight or not fight, the body will be destroyed. So your activity will not change anything. So therefore, why are you not executing your duty? If by executing your duty, nothing will be changed, then why are you not executing your duty? So that's the point. Text number 28. Abhyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhani bharatam abhyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka varidevanam. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Okay. So this is again according to the atheistic philosophy. The body is born. After birth, in the middle the body exists, and after death the body again perishes. So chemicals are assembled, chemicals stay for some time, and chemicals are disassembled. So why to lament? Okay, this is again the continuation of these three verses are in the same chain. Verse number 26, 27, and 28. So here we can write that the body is unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the middle, and destroyed at the end. So why to lament? Okay. Unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the middle, and unmanifest again in the end. So why to lament? Slok number 29. Ascharyavat paschati kaschidenam ascharyavat badati tathaiva chanya ascharyavat chainamanya sishnotim shutva vyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So now Krishna is concluding this section that soul is amazing. Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand. So understanding about soul is difficult because soul is not something material. So we can write verse number 29, the soul is amazing. Verse number 29, Krishna says the soul is amazing. It amazes us by its nature, because we do not see anything in the material world which has the characteristic same as the soul. Nainam chindanti sastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, nothing. So therefore soul is something different. And this is the last verse of this section. Dehi nityam avadhoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natmam shochitum arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Means the soul who dwells in the body. The body is just like a cage or garment. Who dwells in the body is the soul. So the soul can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. So again, in the conclusion, Krishna says, soul can never be slain. The ultimate statement. Therefore, you should not lament. The soul can never be slain. Therefore, you should not lament. So this is how Krishna actually defeats all the arguments which Arjuna presented in relation to his being compassionate. Okay, so Krishna has proven that you do not have anything to lament because the soul is never going to die. And also Krishna has given another perspective. Even if you do not believe in the eternity of the soul, still you do not have any reason to lament. Even if you consider the body as some bunch of chemicals, then why to lament for some loss of chemicals? So Krishna has actually analyzed all cases. Just like whenever we do a proof, logical proof, we do different case analysis. If this case happens, okay, then also it satisfies. This case happens, this also satisfies. So Krishna also follows the same thing. Rather, we are following the footsteps of Krishna because Krishna is the original logician. Okay, so this is how when Krishna defeats any argument, he defeats completely and there is no room for any other question. And now we will see how Krishna defeats other arguments as well. Okay. We can quickly do one round of Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakti. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So I think there is a question by Madhav Prabhu. If I remove a cell from my body, it will survive for a few minutes and then it will die. How will the cell which I have removed from my body survive outside the body when the cell has no Atma when it is removed from the body? Yes. So this can be explained by a simple analogy. Just like suppose a fan is moving by electricity. Even if you turn off the electricity, the fan will continue to move for some time and then it will stop. So it is the momentum of the presence of Atma. So till the point Atma was present inside the body, every cell was working properly. The metabolisms of the cells were working properly. When the soul is removed from the body, during death, naturally the soul leaves the body. Then still, due to the momentum effect, the metabolism continues for some time, then it will die out. And also, so this is a simple explanation. But also, you cannot say that the soul does not have any Atma. even in the human body, it's not true that we only have one Atma. There are innumerable souls within our body also, because souls can be present everywhere. But there is one soul who is prominent, who is active in this body. But there are other inactive souls within the body also. Just like, for example, in the semen, there are souls. During union, the soul comes to the cell through the medium of the semen. Pumsha reta kanashraya. This is the statement from the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, first chapter. So within our body, there can be other souls which are in inactivated stage, but there is one prominent soul which is driving the body, and that soul is active. And then there is Paramatma, who is guiding the soul. But yes, those inactivated soul does not take any part in survival of the soul, survival of the detached cell, which you were asking for. And this is due to the momentum mechanism. But just for additional information, I told that there can be other souls which are not active. Okay, any more questions?
Ratin, there is one more question.
Yeah.
So, like you said, when the soul is out of the body, the soul carries desire. So, I wanted to understand the importance or significance of desire. Like when the soul is outside the body, or when the soul exists only on itself, it does not carry anything. So why desires are so important that it carries desire? So number one, what is the significance of desire? And number two is how do souls manifest desire? Like we hear that souls take birth so that they can manifest their desire. And regarding the evil spirits, we can understand that evil spirits attack somebody to manifest their desire. And at that moment, souls know what they want to manifest. But when a soul takes a new birth, they forget everything and they start from a scratch. So like where the desires go, ultimately they are not able to do they are not able to execute things which they desired before going into a new body, because the new body learns everything from their new environment and they like lead a completely different life. So like
Yes.
am I clear? Yeah.
Yes. So the point is, the soul does not carry anything. The soul does not carry desires. The desires are carried by the subtle body and specifically the mind. So if you see just what we learned today, the soul is immutable. If the soul used to carry desires, then soul becomes mutable. Because by yoga, you can mitigate all your material desires. So at that point, soul is without desires. And if some person is materialistic, that person has desires. So soul cannot contain anything. This will make soul not immutable. So therefore, soul in the pure state is devoid of all desire. Soul is having only one desire, to serve Krishna. And that is the constitutional position of the soul. But when the soul is covered by the subtle body can have impurities. And these desires are called impurities. So just like a bulb will glow normally, but if you wrap it with a black paper, it will not glow. So similarly, the Atma by itself manifests beautiful qualities like Sat, Chit and Ananda, eternity, bliss and knowledge. But when there is a covering of the subtle body, and within the subtle body there is mind, and mind is the storehouse of material desires. So this is the functionality of the mind, that whenever we come to this world, we come to this world to enjoy. And therefore, for enjoyment, we need desires. If a person comes into this material world without any desires, the person is already a yogi and he has nothing to do in this material world. So the purpose of visiting material world is to satisfy my desires. Now there has to be some storehouse, some container for those desires. So therefore, Krishna has designed the subtle body, and the subtle body has three components: mind, intelligence, and false ego. So mind is the storehouse of material desires. So when So based on this desire and karma, the soul takes a next body. So whatever souls we see within this material world, no soul is without a subtle body. Every soul is accompanied by a subtle body. But you will find souls who are liberated, who are not in this material world, their soul can exist without a subtle body. So within the material creation, soul cannot exist without a subtle body. That's the purpose of material creation. Whenever soul enters into the material creation, it gets a subtle body. And in the subtle body, there is mind. Mind contains desires. So according to the desire and karma, it will get a gross body. So suppose someone died and the soul along with the subtle body left the gross body. And now the subtle body is carrying some desire. Suppose the subtle body is carrying a desire that I want to enjoy in the Swargaloka. But the soul is not, but the person has not done enough pious credit. So the soul is accompanied by the subtle body, which contains mind, which is the source of material desires. And also every soul has an account of karma associated with it. So the soul can desire that I want to enjoy in the Swargaloka, but if the karma account does not permit, that you do not have enough punya to go to Swargaloka, then you cannot do. So what will be our next body is decided by two things, our karma and desire. Okay, so now, so that's one thing. But when your second part of the question was that when we take a birth, a person starts from scratch. So where do all those desires go? So see, there is one desire very prominent in the gross body. It is same as memory. So one memory is gross memory and another memory is subtle memory. So someone from the very childhood, that person may be fearful of heights. Okay, so where does this fear come from? This comes from some memory from the past life, but that memory is in the subtle form. You cannot properly remember in the last life, did I fall from some heightened place? You cannot exactly remember the details. So exact details are stored in the brain, which is in the gross body, but the impression is stored in the mind, which is in the subtle body. So in the next body, you will have the impression. Due to an unknown reason, you will feel fearful. That is the impression. You do not recollect the exact details. Means you have lost the gross memory, but you are carrying still the subtle memory because you are carrying the same subtle body in this gross body also, same as the last gross body. So similarly, just like memory can be gross and subtle, so desires can also be subtle. Suppose you have a desire to enjoy through your eyes or something. You want to see beautiful things. And in this lifetime, you have a plan that, okay, I want to visit Niagara Falls. And so you have a gross desire to visit Niagara Falls. But in the subtle form, that desire is to satisfy my eyes. So in the next lifetime, this desire in the subtle form will continue, but you may forget the exact gross details that, okay, in the last lifetime, I wanted to see the Niagara Falls. You may forget these details, gross details, but that subtle tendency to satisfy the eye, satisfy the sense called eye will be there. So material desires are always stored within the mind, and sometimes if the situation is favorable, some desires come onto the top. Otherwise, the desires are there in the subconscious mind. Sometimes when the situations are favorable, the desire rises up. Just like a thief had a desire to steal money from others. And suddenly the thief became a sadhu. But when there was a chance that everyone was sleeping and all their monies were here and there, so suddenly that desire came up within the mind that should I steal their money? So sometimes according to the situation, some desires may come onto the top. Mind contains everything, but according to the situation, some desires may manifest. But all the desires are there within the mind in the subtle form. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, these desires are called impurities. These are material desires. These will not satisfy us. These are illusion. We are thinking just by satisfying the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, we will be satisfied. No, we will never be satisfied. We will be more unsatisfied. Just like when you pour ghee onto fire, the fire increases. And similarly, when you try to satisfy the desires of the senses, the desire increases and you feel more unsatisfied. So therefore, the prescription is you have to endure your material desires and you have to serve Krishna. By serving Krishna, actually you can be satisfied from heart. So this is the process of Bhakti Yoga, which is called cleansing of the mind. Cleansing of the mind means cleansing the mind or purifying the mind from all these contaminated material desires, which contain the tendency to enjoy ourselves without satisfying the senses of Krishna. So these desires are called impurities. And due to these desires only, we have to take a birth. Suppose by practice of Bhakti Yoga, you become so purified that your mind does not contain any material desire. That means you are liberated. That is the meaning of liberation, that you do not have any material desires within your mind. And therefore, you do not have to take any birth. Because next birth is a function of your karma and desire. If the desire is zero, then you do not have to take birth. And therefore, such a living entity is liberated and he can go back to the abode of the Supreme Lord. And if the Supreme Lord wants him to stay here and preach, he will stay, just like Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is a liberated soul. He could back home back to Godhead at any point, but he is executing the desire of the Supreme Lord. He is not in the material world due to his karma or desire. He is there in this material world to help others, like fallen conditioned souls like us. So does that clear your question?
Yes, Rakhi. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, then we can stop today and we'll continue the next section. Krishna will defeat the second argument, no enjoyment of Arjuna. Okay, we'll continue in the next class. And also we are trying to find a different time because it's too early for India. It's 4:30 a.m. So we'll do a poll again and we'll try to decide a suitable time which suits everyone. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.